Welcome back, everybody. All right, let's turn now to the Big Apple and the mayoral race right around the corner. And it appears to be a lock here by Mr. de Blasio. He's been polling ahead by 40 points. Some even had a 45 ahead of his Republican counterpart, Joe Lhota. Now, de Blasio, he rode in large part the anti-stop and frisk wave to the head of the pack, winning the primary here in September. The issue took center stage over the summer as this case here grabbed headlines, Dominic covering it seemingly on a nightly basis. In August, the judge in the case, Shira Scheindlin, she ordered the stop and frisk policy to be altered, finding the practice unconstitutional. Controversy thrown back into the mix once again yesterday when a federal appeals court blocked her ruling and ordered her to be removed from the case. Now, just before that latest ruling countdown, the two candidates, they sparred in their final debate over stop and frisk.
We need to get control of stop, question, and frisk. No doubt about it. But it is a tool that must continue.
What I think we have to do is go back to the fundamental notion of stop and frisk as a valid police tactic when done constitutionally. For example, when there's a specific suspect description, and that description is the reason why someone is stopped.
My proposal says, yes, we must continue stop, question, and frisk. Yes, we must make sure that the community understands what they're allowed to do. Yes, the police officers need to be trained. And the most important part, there is no room for racial profiling in this city.
All right, let me bring in Dominic Carter now for this. Dom, you've had a day here to process this, and I know you'll know a lot of the principles involved in it. How does this shake out? Let's take it as a given here, de Blasio wins, okay?
Okay.
Then, how does the NYPD play this thing out here? How does the mayor, when he's coming into office with a lot of outstanding questions, how does this work itself out here as a policy, both in the short term and longer term?
Great question, and anyone that tells you that they know the definitive answer doesn't really know what they're talking about. One thing that you were correct about 1,000% yesterday, the new mayor, you know, they've all been against stop and frisk. But Bill de Blasio's in the hot seat now because in roughly 72 hours or about, he will be, based on the polling, the mayor-elect of New York City. He was the #1 Democrat out there against stop and frisk. So what does he instruct his law department to do? What does he do? If he says continue with the appeal, there goes his relationship with the minority community. Does he order his law department to drop the appeal? In other words, the city would say we're not appealing anymore. And then does Judge Scheindlin's ruling stay in place? So there are so many complicated, Richard,
and one
legal
thing
questions.
that you were talking about yesterday, people may not want to hear this, but there's a whole bunch of union contracts all coming up at the same time he's got to deal with, including with the NYPD.
And you know, it's funny because when we sat down with former Mayor David Dinkins, who was recovering from a bout with pneumonia, that was the #1 issue that Dinkins, who is now 86 years old, said the new mayor would face. And he said it's going to be a mess. All of those union contracts, not only do they want to raise, Richard, but as you have pointed out, they want retroactive pay. And they're all up at the same time.
And a lot of them didn't endorse de Blasio. So they got no chits here. We don't know how this thing plays out, right?
We don't. What we do know, based on pattern bargaining of the past, the city will pick one union and try and cut a low-end deal and thus use that as their example for pattern bargaining across the entire spectrum. But we'll see.
Okay. Dominic's going to stay with me. When we come back here, there's a new book coming out from the same guys who wrote Game Change here, and it's got a lot of juicy dirt in it, including, was Joe Biden almost kicked to the curb by Hillary Clinton back last year? You heard me right. In 2012, did they almost shake up the ticket? And why was Chris Christie not the VP? That answer also in this book. And we're going to talk about that after this.